All right, good day, all you devils out there. How we doing? Sam here with you. It's January the 17th, kind of middle of the day, and I'll look at three crypto pairs here today. Now, before we get to the TA, just a couple things I want to go over with you real quick. Now, as many of you may know, things are definitely going to be changing here at TradeDevils in a pretty big way over the coming months. We've got some really exciting things in store for you, and just to be done via our free social and educational memberships, everything from custom indicators and online tools to support your trading journey, to new courses, some interesting new ways we will be introducing to give members the opportunity to interact with my team. So if you've been a follower of TradeDevils on any of our social channels and you want to continue to get the latest market analysis, or if you just prefer kind of dipping your toe into the community, there are now options for you to get involved. And for those of you who are looking to take your trading to the next level, well, you'll want to check out our educational package, which includes full access to the TradeDevils belt system, as well as full access to our team's technical analysis throughout the Discord. All right, so if you're interested in that, we do have a landing page that we've set up for you here. You'll find it at v2.tradedevils.com, v2.tradedevils.com. Links directly underneath the video. So if you're interested, you can come over and check it out. And we also have a new video that you'll find over on our YouTube channel that'll kind of walk you through some of the benefits and features that we will be offering on that rollout and how to get on that list. So there you go. That's enough for today. Now let's get on to the analysis. All right, so we'll start with excuse me, guys. We'll start with Bitcoin here. Now, this is something you've seen me do before here. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking swings and I'm highlighting the golden zones, right? And I'm considering where we are sitting at the moment. I'm going to make the giant leap here. You understand why I'm doing this. Now, per the count, right? The count has not changed even with this price action here. Although this area here, I think we have a candidate here. It's going to be interesting to see how far this goes here if we're breaking, as we sit here literally in the middle of the golden zone as I'm recording this, and we may break it while I'm recording here. But so note here, so we get the WX right to the golden zone, right? And we get the Y finishes here. Now we do get this unusual, right? We get the expanded B wave here, takes us down, boom, up golden zone. All right, now this is very challenging to count here, but I'm going with the A wave here completing relative to tagging the median line. Now this looks like we've gone up and put in a B. We'll get into the subdivision in just a second, but the implication per this count is that we are not done, that there is a probability that we need to come down and finish the Z wave here, all right, via an A, B, C. So if correctly labeled here, if this is the A and this is our B going in here, we're looking for 5 down to complete. And that way we've got some unrealized targets down here. And then you guys have seen this before. Now, note here, I am not in log scale while I'm doing this here. So bring it up here and you can see, of course, we've looked at this many times here, that just the tick-to-tick swings within the golden zones here. We come down, get that median line. We do break the golden zone here from the swing low, right, thereby losing the buy-side algo at that degree. But now coming up here, tagging the median line, we go right to golden zone. Now, are we going to pivot there? Well, I mean, certainly we have history here to suggest that, but if this is going to keep going, this is going to start to get interesting, because if we go far enough here, this count will have to be relabeled, and perhaps we're back revisiting the idea here that I'm going to propose to you, that this is corrective, not impulsive, and we're going to know pretty quickly as first question, do we break through, and then if we retrace, do we get a 4-5? Right. Okay. So. Let's see. Let me take some of this off here, just so we can dig into the count as it relates over here. So bear with me while I pull some of this off here. All right, I think you get the idea with the tag of the median line. So I think rather than pull that off, I'm just going to hide it. And it is so perfect here. So let me pull that. Of course, there is a bigger one that I think. Well, that's not it. The big one is here that we've now broken here. We are in the 1.5. We've just run into that. We're getting a slight, right? We've tagged this median line. So you can note here, this has been fairly good framing of the market, but we have 2 median lines here, and perfect tag on the secondary one I thought was worth noting. So but let's just get them off here. So get you off. All right, let's come into this. Get a little more screen space here. All right, so I think at this point, I guess you get. I'd like to assume you get the idea here that we are at a potential pivot point here, relative to the X. Now, nothing says we must turn here, but you're going to have some algorithmic defense here. And all they're doing is just swing high, swing low. We're at the golden zone. There will be selling pressure here. Again, nothing says we can't get through. All right, so let me clear up some of this just to get the chart easier. Right, we won't be distracted by all. We'll leave that one on. All right, let's get down to a 3 hour here. We can take a look at this. Now, you will note here, if I get this, I got to tighten this just a hair. Right, when you change time frames, we've got a slight break here. Right, so you guys probably have all seen this on yours. So we get a slight break. Right, that's encouraging for bulls. Let's pull this back here and go through this count. Now, I remain concerned. Let me say that. So if you watch my videos here, you know I'm a long-term bull. So I do remain optimistic here, but concerned that per the Elliott count, there's a reasonable expectation that we are not finished here, because it's a little tougher to turn this into an ABC. This whole move down here. Now, if this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, perhaps we're revisiting that. But right now, the probability still looks to me as though we've got a contender here to be either finishing or finishing in very nearly. Or so, we could put. Let's do it this way. We could put the 707 on here. Oh shit, I got it somewhere. Hang on. I got it on a template. All right, let's put the 707 on. So, you can look over here and see, well, we do have, that's not what I want. I want you here. We got this high volume node right at the 707, which is all relative to that little cluster here. You could probably bring it over even further, right, to that pivot. So you've got lots of market acceptance there. You can understand how we potentially could be looking at some resistance there. But let's take that off. Let's break into this subdivision here, because there's a couple of things to note. Now, members will have all seen this. We posted, I think I referenced this in the last couple of videos here. We did get a perfect golden corner pocket here. You can see that's already been realized, right? So right out of the golden zone, yet again, there's another golden zone. I probably, because I mentioned it here, I didn't want to emphasize it here with regards to where we are up here, but from the corner, right? So that's as we hit the median line, right? That's where we realize our 80%. We get through back, right? So now as we hover around it here, we are definitely at a point where there's technically some vulnerability here to a sell-off. So you might, you might look at the, I don't have any indicators on this. That's all right, I don't use them anyway. So, but you could, as a reference, you might look for, are we a little hot on the RSI, which likely we are. Potentially here, it's not so much that I'm saying, this, you want to be looking for the sell here, but if we start down, if we start down, this is going to be, challenging for the traders, because as we start down, if you're getting something that's 3-wave here, then this is going to very easily, you'll be able to see potentially now we've got something more impulsive underway. There is a problem with the slight overlap we have here. So the reason I think that we have to trade this currently as a WXY is part of the problem that we have here, because what we cannot do, we cannot go 1, 2, 3, right? Can't do it, right? Pretty well. Shit, I mean, you label it as you like, but if you want to stick to Elliott wave rules and guidelines, can't have the overlap here. So you can't go 1, 2, 3. Well, so one of the other possibilities here is that we might have a diagonal, but because I've got potentially an impulse here in the finishing wave here, I'm thinking that's becoming less and less likely. So actually, maybe easier to go down to an hourly here, and let's pop this up a bit. Okay, so here, right off the bat, you have an initial problem here. It's it's a brutal force fit to try and turn that into an impulse. Right, so even the most bullish, well, if you're an Elliottician, I'd be curious to see how you're going to turn that into a motive way, right? It's a force fit, right? You'd have to bastardize the count so badly that I think that would be foolish to try and force in the count there. And then with the overlap here, it's not by much, but it's enough, right? That's enough of a break of the wave 1 high, right? And 1 tick's enough. Now, occasionally, 1, 2 ticks, maybe you let that slide, but here, that's enough. No way, right? Cannot, if you're an Elliottician, you cannot put the 4 there. So we're kind of left going, well, what does it look like to your eye? It looks more like a 3 going up here. right? So if it's A, B, and then I get a little, even if I get a little impulse there, but it's an ABC, right? So it's a great candidate for a W, A, B, C into an X. Well, now you're thinking, okay, well, if it's a WXY, I need to finish with an ABC. Well, this plays rather nicely as an ABC, right? So take note of this, right? So with this acknowledged, right, and that the golden corner here is already spent, right? So you've already got your 80%. All right, so let's take that off. Let's take that off. All right, so what do we have next? Next pivot to pivot. All right, we know this is how the algorithms work, so what do we get here? We break here, but you look at it and you go, well, note what happens. We come down, we tag the 50 to the tick. Note also Vegas wave. We hit the 233 to the tick. But look what comes off of that, right? That's clear. Could you bastardize that into an ABC? I think you got to go with an impulse here. Now that you got a little funky ABC in the 2, right? So you can't, again, just Elliott rule said, you can't put a triangle in the second ever under any circumstance, right? There is nothing that allows for that. So you're kind of stuck with this going, all right, well, if it can't be, right, I've got to work my 2 in there somewhere. So it does look like, let's zoom in there a little bit, like you'd have to work it this way, right? So you'd have to go A, expanded B down for the C, right? To make that your 2 so that you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Double top into the 3. And that could be relabeled here. Sorry. So a couple of key, well, obviously, right? Some key structural pivots here to look at. Obviously, this is important. If this is going to play and stay as our 1 wave here, right? Even with the expanded B wave, you'd want to be paying attention to that. Now it looks like, right, it's no longer a threat to the 4, so it looks like this could, if we're going to go up. Now remember, we've just broken this little bit right here, just broke the golden zone from above. So if this is going to continue to go higher, right, it's bulls will be encouraged by that, but it doesn't change where we are. So it's not like breaking the 65 here invalidates this count. Right? Remember, the algorithms don't care about the Elliott wave, but we, trying to figure out what they're doing and what they're likely to do next, we can look at this and say, okay, yet again, here we have algo participation. Look what happens at the target, right? So profit taking. Now, if we're going to keep going, certainly second target, not unreasonable. This already being realized, so we can get this off of here. So if we're thinking about an ABC, we'd certainly want to consider parity between the length of the A and then the pivot of the B. Get that right on that. So trying to put that, let's see if I can do it this way, put that together. Let's work back from our X to our pivot. All right, so this is important. This is something we focus on a lot in the day trading room because you'll see this is very, well, it's just incredibly consistent. So likely there's algorithmic activity tied to it. If we get a measured move, as we did here, that makes its target, all right, so we get B wave here, we get the target, but we fail the 100%. And often in the day trading room, I'll demonstrate it this way. So we make, well, actually I can do it this way. We make the target here. This target is realized. From this pivot, we get target, but we as of yet have not made the 100%. Right, so the A, B, C is rampant within the shorter term stuff that you'll see in the market. So the contender here is for this to fall over unless we're going to go up and get that 100. Now that 100 would be a common target, a common swing relationship for the length of the A relative to the B, projecting the C. That's very common. If we're going to go past that, next target would be the 127, 1382 window. So if I can I do that? Pop that up here, we could be going that high. Now we're approaching, remember, this would be approaching, pardon me, here it is right here. Here's the 1618. Now, since we only go to the 50 and not the golden zone, the 1618 is not on top of the negative 100. But you can kind of understand we've got all of this, really all of this. These are potential technical pivot points that we might anticipate running into some resistance. If we're going to break the 100. So then you back into it and you think, okay, working backwards. Well, if this is the B and I'm looking for that, well, at this point we're anticipating an impulse is going to finish the C. Are we done here? Well, let's go down. You can go down to the 15-minute here, which I don't often do, but this is an example of where you might. Let's open this up a little bit. If you're digging out a count. So here, yeah, you got a little problem with that. So problem with the 15 minute. Let me go down. Let me go to the 30 here. All right, so already, if you might have to do an expanded B here again. All right, so let's ease into it. All right, so I had not worked through the subdivision, but here we'll do it on the fly. All right, so that's our ABC. Here, well, let's use some measurement. All right, so let's look at it this way. If this is the 4, let me take that up a degree. All right, so if that's our 4, we're seeking the 5. All right, this is a pivot I want to pay attention to. So first question, am I technical here? All right, we come down, we tag that. It's a tick or two in front of the golden zone. So I guess we can take this off. All right, that's just going to confuse us. All right, so I've got an AB. This is a 3-wave structure, right? So I can't go 1. Well, pardon me. I could actually, come to think of it. So I sit here. If I wanted to, one option here is to be looking at this as a potential ending diagonal, but we need to see that one, this is kind of deep for an ending diagonal, but it wouldn't invalidate it here. So if we were going to go ABC, we'd have to go AB, and then you'd be looking for the C here. So you got a candidate here. Let me label it. Let me get in here a little bit more. So you could potentially do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4 gives me the overlap going up for the 5. Now, if that's the 1, that's the 2. All right, so I hit 200% the length of the 1. Well, note here, here's the high probability zone for a 3, but because I'm trying to make a diagonal out of this, I'd be more inclined to be thinking ABC, right? If that's going to be my top of the 3rd relative to this ending diagonal. Yeah, I don't love it, but you're kind of stuck with that. So if this is going to be ABC into the 1, ABC into the 2, yeah, you'd have to do it that way. There's no deeper retracement. So you'd have to go ABC into the 3 here. Now coming down for the 4, this is our lowest low here. So we'd be looking for another ABC to finish this up for the 5. So per the pivot here, we've got a target that's right here. That's got to go up a degree. Let's go to sub and let's put it in blue. Okay, so that sits up here relative to this 3. Actually, let's go minuet works better up here. Okay, so ABC into the 4, 1, 2, 3, ABC into the 4, working on the 5th. So it's not, it's not your ideal candidate here, but let's see if we can put the whole thing together. All right, so we'd have potentially, so you'd prefer rather than an expanding diagonal, you'd rather have a contracting diagonal, but that's kind of what we're stuck with here if this is going to go up here and we're going to get that high, right? And right now, so again, another golden zone, I don't know that I would be betting against that. But again, it's not what you'd hope to see. You've got 3 longer than 1, so you'd prefer to see, right? If you're going to try and stay with Elliott guidelines here, you'd prefer to see 5 longer than 1. So it creates this scenario here. If this is going to go up here, and we got to get at least longer here. See, the problem is this. Ideally, you'd see this as a leading diagonal rather than an ending diagonal. So Elliotticians are not going to be happy about that. But I don't see an alternate way to count that. Assuming this is the 4. Yeah, well, I suppose you could go 1, 2. Pardon me. You'd have to do it this way. This is a little tricky. Typical of Bitcoin. 1. Pardon me. You have to go 1, A, B, C, which I don't like because the 3 here is solid, and that's a 3. Clearly, it's a 3. So I think you're kind of stuck with this. Yeah, again, I know my Elliotticians are going to be howling, right? Can't have it, can't have it. Well, if we go up here and we hit that if, right? Heavy emphasis on if, but if we do that, show me how you're going to count that. When I post it up on Twitter, or post underneath, I'd be curious to see how you're going to count that, even though this is not where you'd be looking for an expanding diagonal. But there we go. I don't like that. I don't see another way to count it. Yeah, you can't see the ABC here is kind of cock blocking you here on that. You're stuck with it. You got to go ABC here, unless something dramatic is going to change here. And we get something along these lines. If this just starts to break down here, which is certainly possible, if this starts to really break down, then we're invalidating that thinking here, and then the Elliotticians will be, I told you, I can't have. I can just hear the comments now. right? So me not being, that much of a purist, right here, I'm just kind of trying to make sense of what I can see. What the last thing I can see that gives me some confidence here that I've got a good candidate here is I've got a swing. I've come down to the golden zone. I got a target sitting right there. Now, are we going to get to the 100? That would make it easier to stick with the idea I've got a diagonal here. So there you go. That's going to be interesting to see how that finishes. Let's go back out to the hourly. Those would be the tells that I'd be looking for. If we're going to go, the big one being right here, can we get to that 100? Right. If we do that, then let's get some of this out of here. Right. That will be a key number. Are we going to get there? Well, I know it's ugly. I don't like it. But we're looking for, in this context, we're looking for the larger B. So we've got putting that all back together. WXABC for the Y, right? Implies lower prices here. Now, remains to be seen what's going to happen next. But right now, the technical analysis implies that it's likely one move down. Now, let me be the first to say, I hope I'm wrong. Right? As a bull, very long of Bitcoin, I hope I'm wrong. But I don't see another way to count that. I'd be curious to see your thoughts, right? That's the interesting thing about L8 Wave, right? Often I'll get something like, holy shit, I'd never even thought of that. Great idea, right? So right now, this is, and I've been to my senseis, and these guys are as good as they get, right? And this is the count that we think is most probable here, trading this as a WXY into the larger B wave here, right? So that said, I think that covers everything I can offer to you on Bitcoin as it relates right now. I'm not proposing a short. I think you're too late to be buying up here. So right now, it's a matter of waiting for the next retracement. And as we put the whole thing back together, back here, I'd sure be cautiously optimistic, even though we've had the break. It's not by a whole lot. So we've yet to get to the 707, right? 707 square root of 50. So we've seen that before. And take note here, as I went through all of those early golden zones, there were slight breaks here. There was a slight break here. If I put those back on, right, you'll recall here we can do this slight break from here. I think this was to the tick, right? Oh, pardon me. It was here. All right, here we don't break. But the fact that we get a slight break here, not ready to declare, okay, new bullish trend just yet. All right, that's probably enough on that. All right, I had a couple more for you there. I think this is a hurry up and wait here. Let's see. We need a little bit more reveal from the market as to what's next before there's any trade to put on right now. Moving on. I thought this was interesting. I really just picked a couple that I thought were interesting because they were kind of surprising. I was a little bit surprised to see this here with the Binance coin. Let me pull that off here. All right, so here's a 3 hour. Oh, come on, trading view. All right, so as you look at this, right? I mean, just to your eye, you kind of want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now look where we are right now. All right, let's see. Let me zoom out. All right, so we again, exact same thing as Bitcoin. Slight break. Interesting, huh? Just almost exactly the same. Slight break from the pivot here, although we're not trading this as an X wave. We're not trying to play ABC here. But you have a similar problem here in that let's go look at it. So if this is in fact, well, let me just go back to this 8 hour here. If this is trading as in this case, it would be an impulse, right? So we don't threaten here. It's technical. I've got a clear 5-wave structure. If that's an impulse, right? See, you're kind of looking at that going, come on, one. See, it's counterintuitive. You're thinking, well, shit, man, if we're going to have a crypto bull, you'd expect Binance to be just ripping here. And while we have the rip, you're running into the count suggesting, wait a minute, if this is 5 down, that's going to imply A, B, C. Doesn't make sense given, again, if the assumption is here that we've got the ingredients in many of these alts, particularly in many of the alts, for potentially a trend change. How about we say it that way? prior to a moon launch, let's just establish a trend change. If indeed we have a trend change, this doesn't make sense, just fundamentally thinking about it. Yet there it is, right? So this will be certainly something that will be important to see if we can get through. And some of this, any of these pivots here are potentially going to be some resistance we're going to run into. Now we're sitting there right now at the golden zone with a slight break. Is that enough? Well, I suppose we can back ass our way into this, but boy, it sure does look like 5, doesn't it? One, yeah, ABC. We truncate the C there. Boy, that's. I mean, how do you ignore that, right? Unless, could you? I mean, I looked at everything we have to work with here. There's no way around it, right? So we got 707 from the absolute low here, swing low to swing high on Binance, obviously. We get the 707, but that 5 is problematic. You don't have, see, even if you're thinking, maybe we can get a WXYXZ, you don't have a retracement. You don't have anywhere where you get a 618. All right, that's the problem, right? So, if you're trying to ask backward, get this thing to fit into some sort of a corrective double zigzag, you don't have a 618 anywhere, right? And that's what you'd be looking for the X. So you're kind of stuck with a 5 there going, that doesn't make sense, but there it is staring you in the face. So you got to approach with a little bit of caution here. On the assumption that we're off on the moonshot here, right? Which kind of brings you back to, wait a minute, right? The Bitcoin count is implying one more leg down. This count doesn't seem to make sense in the larger degree. So, spidey senses start tingling here. Something's not right. All right. So that said, let's just go deal with the swing that we're in the midst of. So let me go back to an hourly here because I thought this was kind of interesting here and a bit of a challenge. Maybe a good lesson in here. So the first thing here, let's take this off. The first thing you got to deal with, which obviously I'm assuming you guys have already seen, right? So we come down golden zone, look what we do. Boom. Straight algo play, right? That's I think the best way to describe this is the basic DNA of the market right there, right? That you have to know that. That is the DNA. Every move, every trend, every swing, it starts from that DNA molecule right there. Everything ties to that. Just straight algo play, right? Just textbook. This, everywhere you look, right? At every degree, whether we're looking at a 512 tick chart or a monthly chart, that's the foundational DNA of the market. All right. So that said, I got to deal with that. So I can't go 1, 2. Here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't think that's what we get here. I think we get, and this is. I don't like to see too many of these. I think we get another expanded B wave into a C. I think that plays better because if I come here, look what I get. So this is something I talk about often, right? You guys have seen me talk about it here. If this 3-wave counter swing, when we come down to that, well, let's put the whole thing together. Look at it this way, right? So you get this. All right, so here, look at it this way. Okay, so what happens here? Look at this. We go from the first pivot, right? We come down. This just looks like it. Looks like it's a slight front run on the golden zone here. We go right to target. Okay, the next reaction down. Let me zoom in here a little bit to make this point here. So much for shorter videos. Okay, so see the next one breaks. Members know all about this, right? We do a lot of training on this. So the next one, as we come down here, you'd be looking. Look, we get a little reaction there, but it breaks. So you're going, oh goddamn, man, that guy, the Trade Devil guy, told me that I should be looking. Yeah, that's right. But if that breaks, what do? You got to go back to the next pivot. They're very, very, very responsive here. I can't explain why. I'm just telling you. Having seen thousands of these, that's one you want to pay attention to. Now, if that breaks and we go down here, now you're back here. Right, see, let me, if I can put some concepts together for you. Look what happens. Look what happens here. Right, we fail to make the 100. Right, so we get the pivot, we get the algo target, but we fail the 100. Right, remember I was telling you that's particularly in the stock indexes, if you're a day trader, that's something you got to pay attention to. We don't make the 100. So if this is going to fall over, well, already it fell over. But where does it go? Right to the next golden zone, which sets up the next move here. So we get to and through, right? So we're still going. So now you're thinking, oh, okay, so how am I going to count that? Well, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, right? You'd love to see it be a little cleaner, but this looks like you're going to have to go ABC and do an expanded B wave and then bring that down for the 2 here at the golden zone. I think that trades better. All right, so that's, shit, I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. All right, so let's get that off of here. So now we're good. And so if that's a 2, right, if, emphasis if, right, you're taking a risk by doing something a little unusual there. Not that it's like we don't see it, but if that's the low of the 2, and this is my new 1, what do I do right here? Right to the 50. All right, so ABC, and then I go 1, 2, and I can get an ABC into that, right? It's not the best looking ABC. It actually, goddamn, it actually looks like you might have the same thing there. I'll be damned if you don't. It looks like you got 3, 3, 5. Again, another expanded B. Well, that's interesting, right? So that would put you right here. Now you're 50 to the tick. Interesting. Do you see that? I think that's what we have here. ABC, ABC, another expanded B wave. So you'd be putting the 1 here. A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be damned. I think that is exactly what you get right there, right? So it's 1, 2. After this, we had the same thing here, right? C wave doesn't break the A wave low, right? Expanded B wave. Yet again, expanded B wave. So we come up here. There's my 3, right? So relative to that, let's do a little projecting here. Let's take you off. So interesting. If we can get this here. So from the low here, from the pivot to the proposed 1 now. I'm changing the 1. There's the 2. Well, where's my high probability zone for the 3? Right here. 1618 to the 175. Yeah, I get a little wick through it. Look at this nice trend line. Well, I'm using it as a channel, but tag. Now, we still going up. Now, you can get the ABC here, right? A, B, down we come for the C. Now you got to go 1, 2. Looks like 3, 8. Let's open it up. Look, can you see the ABC in there? ABC. There it is, right? So you got a little 3. Now, nothing says that we need to be done here, but there's the 3. Now we're pushing off. So if this is 4, looks like, let's tag off the proposed 1. If that's 1, 2, 3, ABC into the 4, well, from the 2, how do we look? Right to the 50. Right, looks like we could be going up here to get that, which would get you that. Now, potentially, we got 4 or 5 of the 3. Now, let's see if we can put that all back together. Right, that would put you, here's some upper targets here. Let's get off of that. Right, there's the 4 going in there. So 2 to the 4, let's take a check here from that to that, right? Here, 38 to the 50, very valid. Got a little high volume here. So looks like we are headed right there. Now again, same thing, guys. Every single swing, same thing, right? Do you see it? 50 to the tick. Swing high, swing low, 50. Where are we likely going? Right, that seems like a reasonable target right there. All right, so, but again, that's only giving you the 3, so let's go back out to the 3 hour. So where are we in the count here? That's a candidate for my 3, 4, right? I might as well use the channel. Got a big 5 up here. Right, now you're back here. Perhaps now we've got enough to get past the 4 pivot up here, and now we got a pretty solid candidate for a potential trend change. If, now heavy emphasis, we're not there yet, if this plays that way. A, B, C, down the other edge of the channel, up we go for the 5. Maybe we're going higher. We can break that. Now you start to feel pretty solid about a trend change. Excuse me. Shit, 33 minutes. God, it's hard to do these. I don't think I can do them any shorter and get multiple coins, which was the idea here, but I'll be damned. I can't do them any shorter. Okay, so that looks like we're okay here. You know what you're waiting for here, the 4 to the 5. That's the next trade, right? I would not be looking to short for the 4. I'd be waiting for the 4 to the 5. Excuse me, that's me. All right, let's carry on. Last one here before I... God, this is so much longer than I intended to. I always think I'm going to be able to do them in 15 minutes. I just can't do it. Okay, so here, let me go. This is Zcash. I just took this because of the rip that we're getting off of the low. Right now, so pulling out here, I'm not worried about that count. I don't really care. Right? I'm not trying to figure out what that was. Here's what I see down here. I've got... Again, what is it? I don't care. Really, what I care is I've got some sort of a rip here, potentially. Now, again, potentially, I've got a significant move here that might suggest a potential trend change. Well, how do we confirm it? Well, from the low, well, we've gotten through the 38. we got through this pretty meaty resistance that was likely there, although we're not too far through. I'd like to see it get a little further and then come back and test it. Right? That would be ideal, right? Prior support now having broken through as the resistance. You know, the next one up will be this one here. Right? So we'd have a little of that at the 50. So recognize here, swing high to swing low. It's not, you know, Elliott count aside, that's just where you can anticipate some algorithmic activity, right? That would put it that way, right? Doesn't mean it can't get through. Just means you can expect some resistance there. All right, so with that said, this, so goddamn, the allergies here are so bad. Down here, I don't really care what this is. This is what I see. I think this is kind of a, something like this. I mean, it's just kind of like this, and you know, it's not. We don't until we get here where I get something that breaks. I don't really care about that. What that is. Now, let's see if I can get it off there. Right, it's whatever it is. I got a base here, right? So here's point of control, at least in visible range. So I get a big. You can think of it this way. I get a big solid base right here. Right, nice big fat base of support here. Look at all the volume over here. Right, plenty of market acceptance here, buying, selling, accumulation, whatever you want to think. That accumulation breakout, boy, and that is one hell of a big break. Well, now take a look, right? Guys, right? I show it to you over and over and over again. Right? And people still wonder. Okay, do you see what we're doing here? All right, so all I've got here now. So I'm looking at this thinking, okay, it looks to me like 1, 2. Well, shit, given this length of that sure looks like a 3. Looks like I go triangle 4. Well, look at that, right to the target. Now you look here and you go, some sort of, well, I guess I got to go down to the hourly here to see it better. So some sort of a triangle gets me to the 4 here, and then I go 1, 2, boom, right to the target. Now it's off of the 38. We don't quite make the front, the 50 here. Looks like this structure comes in as we tag it, right? So prior resistance becomes the support. A, B, C, D, E. We get the 4. Now we come out of that and we're going hard here. It looks like it's an impulse. So 1, 2. Right? Again, it's the same shit, guys, every single time. Same thing over and over and over again. So sorry. Here, so 1, 2. Big pump up. What do we run into? We sure ran into the algo target. So how do I know it's an algo? Look at the reaction. Right, so what are you anticipating now? Well, of course, you're looking for something, kind of corrective, but that would imply there's more to go yet, right? So that would be potentially up here. Remember, that was the next resistance point that we just tagged off as potentially now the next target. So you kind of look and you go, all right, 2 to the 4, where are we expecting that to go? We'll pull up to the 3. Well, that would put you, now look here. Oops. That would put you right here at this prior resistance coming in right at the 50. You know there's going to be an algorithm just waiting there to kick in to buy it. Now, they're going to have this as their first target here, right? So this one is relative to that 4. So are we going any higher? Maybe. Well, maybe we get second target. You don't know. But that's not an unreasonable location right there. So is that enough for a trade? Well, you know, it's up to the individual here as well. That's more of it's a damn near it's more than a scalp, right? So that's just a little swinging for a single here. But I wouldn't be going into that trade thinking, okay, we're off to the moon. Nah, it doesn't look like it, right? So I mean, you've already had this big pump here, right? So the people that caught this are going to be dying to take profit, dying to, right there. It's already they're dying to. So any sign of weakness, you're going to see the weak longs go, oh, grab it. Right? So any sort of push down here, that's what will create that. Right? So that's what you're anticipating. If we do, and I don't have this pivot here, but if we were to finish up there, then I'd pull it down here. Where's the next trade? Right down here. Right, and look here, a little high volume. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that, right in the golden zone. Nice high volume node, right there. So if that starts to come down, heavy emphasis on if. Right, I've got a beautiful, ripping, trend-changing, impulsive rip off the low, but at some point I'm going to be anticipating, right? So don't FOMO into it. That's what you're waiting for. That's the next trade. Right, now you do that with confidence. Okay, clear impulse up, potentially strong trend change. I know there's going to be a correction, right? I mean, so it starts to come down. The weak longs. This is always what creates the ABC. The weak long stops. Oh, wait, okay. Well, maybe we're going again. Oh, we're going to go get that high. We're going to get it. If it fails, and you you go. Right, there's the ABC. All right, guys, there you go. That was way longer than I thought it was going to be. All right, I got to figure out how to do these more quickly. Yeah, I'm working on it. Work in progress, right? So a lot going on. TradeDevils 2.0 is coming soon. Remember that link if you're interested. You want to get on that list. The link is directly underneath the video. You can't miss it, right? And where you can always reach out to us. We will get back to you. All right, guys, have a great week.